Hello and welcome to the Crone Zone. I'm Lynn. We've come to the part of the course now where we're ready to read cards, which is the whole point of studying them. But reading a layout, a spread, even a small one, can be very daunting when we're new to the process. But what I want to remind you is that we don't come to this empty handed at all. To begin with, if you have taken my advice and written on the cards, have this sort of burner deck that you're using to learn with, then you've got information on your cards. That's helpful for a start. But after that, we have things in our toolkit that we can apply. We've been looking at the major and minor arcana and their meanings, but we've done so all the way through the lens of the suits, the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. That is pentacles, wands, cups, and swords. And we've also done through so by putting the cards into number families and looking at what the numbers mean. All of that's hugely helpful when we come to read, it really is. So today I'd like to introduce you to this small 5-step approach to reading cards. And this is you're confronted with a spread. What on earth do I do? Well, you start going through your checklist of the 5 things that you can look at and work with in those cards. Number 1 will be major and minor arcana. What's the balance? Are there any major arcana cards? If there are, they're going to be very significant. They may even steer and guide that reading. The second thing we look at are the suits. What are the elements? Is there a preponderance of one element over another? Are the elements balanced? Are the elements ones you'd expect for the question that's been asked? That's important. If you're asked a question about work and most of your cards that come up are cups, then that would be an indication that you really need to be working from something very heartfelt and creative and imaginative. That would be the way forward for you. So we look at major, minor, we look at the suits, we look at the balance of them. Now, after that, we look and see, are there any court cards? And we have a video on reading court cards. We think about what function the court cards may be playing in the reading, and also what suit are they. If you've got a preponderance of one suit and you've got a court card of that suit, that's really strengthening that element, isn't it? It's really underlining that aspect of life. So we look for court cards. After that, we look at numbers. And these can be very, very informative. Now, those are all things that we've covered naturally, organically, as we've gone through 30 videos now to get to this point. So we've got lots of information on those. You can always go back and check if you need to. The 5th thing on the toolkit is card positions. And this we haven't really looked at. We're going to start looking at it today for the first time. It's really helpful in readings, and I think we're ready now to see how that operates too. So those are going to be the 5 steps to approaching a reading. So for the reading, I took a very common question, and it was, is there a relationship on the cards for me? So to begin with, I thought that question needs some reframing to put the power back with the questioner, not with the cards. So I divided the question into the following sub-questions and drew 2 cards for each. The first was, am I ready for a relationship? That was 2 cards. And then the next question, what blocks a relationship? What are the obstacles to me forming a relationship? And again, 2 cards. And then what would help me form relationship? What would be a helper? And for that, I drew one card. So for that part of the question, there are 5 cards out, drawn in section two for each of the questions there. But there was a subsidiary question as well, which was, should I try internet dating? And the cards, I didn't feel it appropriate for the cards to say yes or no to that. But what I did feel that they could offer some advice on would be the advantages of internet dating versus disadvantages of internet dating. The questioner could look at the advice given by the cards and make their own judgment on that. So the cards providing information, not telling you what to do. And for those, there were 2 for advantages and 2 cards for disadvantages. So let's take a look now at what came up for the reading. Working from the top left and with the question, am I ready for a relationship? The 2 cards drawn were the Hermit and the Page of Swords. For the obstacles blocking a relationship, the 2 cards were the 3 of Swords and the 8 of Pentacles. The helper card was the 3 of Pentacles. For the second question about whether to try internet dating, the 2 cards for the advantages of doing that were the 8 of Wands and the 3 of Cups, whilst for the disadvantages we had the 7 of Cups and the 5 of Swords. So there we have it. There are 9 cards out on the table there, and we can now start looking at the first 2 things on our checklist, which is the major minor balance and the suits. Let's go with that then. Some readings will have no major arcana cards. Here, amongst 9 cards, we have card number 9, the Hermit. We have to pay special attention to this, because in many ways this card dominates the reading. This is a person who is looking for a relationship, but under the question about whether they are ready, we get this card. Now, on the one hand, it may mean that they have really done the work on themselves and know themselves and are in a healthy place to enter a relationship without codependency. But it could also mean that they've been withdrawing from life a little too much, locking themselves away. Too early to say which way this goes at the moment. We're going to have to return to this card and refer to it again. But you can see how much comes out by just focusing in on that major arcana. Now, next we look at the mix of suits. And it strikes me that a third of the cards are swords. There's a lot of mental energy going on here. The head is dominating overall. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot coming from the heart at this point. We do also have 2 cup cards overall in the reading, but they don't show up until the second half. And 2 pentacles. So in this first part of the question, we're very much looking at swords and pentacles. And this is the main body of the question. There are no cups here. There are swords and pentacles. So a lot of thought and also quite a lot of work and practical everyday affairs going on here. I'm also thinking that that single wand, which we don't get until the second section, could indicate that this person doesn't feel very hopeful or optimistic, or indeed very passionate about meeting someone, but we must look more deeply into that. So let's take a look at these sword cards. The Page of Swords could indicate that the questioner is ready to reach out and communicate, certainly that they are starting to think about forming a possible relationship. When we come to the Three of Swords, though, under obstacles, this could be an indicator that they have had some heartache. Some real heartache there. And next to that card, in obstacles, we have the Eight of Pentacles. This looks like the person may be immersing themselves in their work. And this could be forming a bit of an obstacle. In fact, it may be that they have done that, sort of doubled up on their work and lost themselves in work to assuage the heartache that they've been feeling. And perhaps it is this heartbreak which has led to the withdrawal possibly shown by the Hermit card. So a question to ask of themselves is, has their heart really healed? And are they really ready to risk it again? And because we have all these swords, is their mind full of doubts? Now, interestingly, it's a pentacle card, which comes up as the helper here. And this suggests a possible route to partnership, maybe through some craft or skill that they have, possibly a hobby or interest which gets them out and about in circulation again, taking it slowly. Maybe they really do need to balance work with more of this kind of activity, more to do with hobbies. Now, this card can indicate co-workers, and there is that potential there that they might meet a partner through their work. Although we've already had work potentially as an obstacle here. So that's looking slightly less likely for me. So checking for major and the balance of major and minor arcana and looking at the suits there is certainly bringing out some potentially useful information. Now, at this stage, we would look for the court cards. We'd look at the court cards. There aren't any in this reading. That in itself seems to indicate something. And the possibility there that there isn't someone immediately on the horizon. All we can do is just put the absence into the mix and go forward. So let's turn now to looking at the numbers of the cards. I'm struck by the fact that there are 3 threes here. 3 threes are 9, and we have number 9, the Hermit, and we also have a total of 9 cards in the spread overall. 9 is a number of completions. Maybe the message here then is that the days of solitude are done. They're completed now, and it's time to enter a new phase. The threes would certainly indicate this, because number 3 in itself is about growth and creativity. So it really does seem it's time to move forward. Earlier we questioned whether the person was ready, but these cards say it's time to grow. Threes are creative and fertile, ruled by the Empress. We might not be getting the message that love is imminent, but it's certainly time to get in circulation. Someone, it seems, could well be out there, although they're not going to come knocking on the Hermit's door. Let's look at the 8s now. 8s are numbers of success. The questioner has applied themselves at work, as shown by the 8 of Pentacles, and is probably enjoying the success which comes from that, even if their workload has been an obstacle to partnership. The Eight of Wands, the only Wands card, shows success in a different field. So the second part of the question is, should they try internet dating? And this card appears under the advantages. And it looks like internet dating could be a very speedy route to introductions. And the Three of Cups shows that there could be lots of fun and enjoyment to be had by doing this. The Eight of Wands can also be a very sexual card, just something to mention. Let's look at the numbers we have under disadvantages in using the internet for dating. We have a 7, and 7s, as we know, are challenges, and we have a 5, and 5s are about conflict. The specific challenge of the Seven of Cups might be that there are so many people on offer, you could become beguiled by someone who is not as they seem, someone who falsely represents themselves. And the deception of slyness of the Five of Swords reiterates this message. You could be tricked. I always find that last part, looking at numbers, very fruitful, very informative. Helps my reading a lot. Let's look now at something else that I find incredibly useful, and that's the positionings of the cards. Let's see how that operates in the layout we've got here. To illustrate what I mean, let's consider the position of the Eight of Wands, the card we just spoke about. You can see that the order the cards came out in show the wands as flying towards the fun and social gathering of the Three of Cups. But what if the cards had come out in different order? If the cups had come out first, in that case, the Wands energy would be moving very quickly away from the happy socialising and not towards it. So we would be reading that differently. Let's go back to the Hermit and the Page of Swords. We said, didn't we, that the questioner was thinking about reaching out in a way that would bring in potential partners. However, the Hermit is looking away from the Page of Swords, and this doesn't look promising. So let's change these cards around. It's time for the questioner to move forward and start communicating, getting the ball rolling. They are ready to do so even if they have doubts. It's time to come out of the shell. Pages are also about students and learning, and I'm thinking about the Three of Pentacles. It might well be time to enroll on that course that's going to help them meet people. Internet dating, too, offers fun, if not soulmates, but comes with warnings for the questioner, as it does for everyone. There doesn't appear overall to be someone in the immediate field, but the best chance of meeting someone is definitely in pushing the energy outwards and getting the communication flowing. When the Hermit is facing the Page of Swords, he is looking towards that communication. If the cards are the other way around, as they were when it came out, then his back is to that communication. He's not looking at it. So the message there to the querent is change that around. Make sure you are ready and you're thinking clearly about this communication. Okay. So there you have it. We don't come to our readings empty-handed. We come with a toolkit of strategies that we can apply and things that we can think about. And all the time that we're doing that, of course, that wonderful trickle of intuition begins to flow and come through as well. I hope you found this useful. I know it's quite a long video. Do let me know in comments whether it's been too long for you or whether, in fact, you've been able to get something from it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.